everyone. Welcome back to Daily Easy English Talk. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jack. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into something we all run into, right?
Absolutely.
That tricky moment when you need someone's attention, but they're clearly, deep in concentration.
Yeah, the delicate dance, as you called it earlier.
Yeah.
How do you check if someone's actually free to talk without being, disruptive?
Exactly. And we want to explore some really effective, polite ways to handle that. Find that balance.
It's universal, isn't it? Office, home, just grabbing someone quickly. You need that moment, but you also want to respect their focus.
Right. And looking through the ways people suggest doing this, it's amazing how just a few careful words can make a huge difference.
It really is. The key thing seems to be signaling what you need and kind of managing expectations right from the very start.
Less about if you interrupt, maybe, and more about how you approach it.
Precisely. Paving the way for the conversation.
Okay, so let's get practical. There are some really solid phrases that kept popping up, like the really simple one, hey, do you have a minute?
Yeah, that one's highlighted a lot for just being, simple, direct. It tells them straight up, you need a short bit of time.
Like 60 seconds, maybe?
Usually, yeah. Great for those low-stakes situations where you're probably not derailing, some major project. It's common. People get it.
But then there are others that feel a bit softer, more considerate, maybe, like asking, is now a good time to talk?
Mm-hmm. This one's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's clear why. It explicitly gives the other person control.
Yeah. You're acknowledging they might be busy before you even ask your question.
Exactly. You're saying your focus might be more important right now. It gives them the choice. It really respects their time, their workload.
And that can build trust, especially at work, I imagine. Shows respect for boundaries.
Definitely. Then there were those phrases that really emphasize being quick about it.
Oh, yeah, like, can I ask you something real quick?
Or, are you free to talk for a sec? Grouping those makes sense.
Because they signal low commitment.
Exactly. Perfect for when you genuinely just need a tiny bit of info. A quick clarification, a yes-no.
It lowers the perceived, cost of saying yes for them.
Right. If they know it's just for a sec or real quick, it's much easier to agree, even if they are a bit busy. Manages those expectations up front.
And what about the one that felt, almost extra polite? The one that offers an out right away?
You mean like, let me know if you're busy? I just have a quick question.
Yeah, that one.
That's a great one because it deals with the potential problem, their busyness, immediately.
So you state your need, the quick question, but you make it secondary to their current situation.
Yes. And that can be really useful if you're not sure how deep in concentration they are, or maybe with colleagues you don't interact with all the time. It sort of minimizes any awkwardness.
And the real benefit here, it seems, isn't just about being nice to them.
No, not at all.
I mean, yes, it reduces their frustration, respects their focus. But for you, the person asking,
you're much more likely to get a properly focused, helpful answer, right?
Right, because you're catching them when they're actually ready to engage, not when you've just yanked them out of something important.
It's basically efficiency through politeness.
Mm-hmm.
An interrupted mind isn't always the most helpful one. Give them that moment to switch gears.
So you get better information, better collaboration.
And maintain those positive relationships. It's about opening the door when both people can actually be present in the conversation.
So having these simple, intentional phrases ready to go, it really does smooth out those daily interactions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Little hinges swinging big doors, as they say. Okay, so to really see how these play out, we're going to step into some of those short role-play dialogues. We'll act them out briefly, and then talk about what makes each one work in its specific situation.
Sounds good, like little case studies in politeness. Where should we start?
Let's begin with a really common one. Just approaching a colleague in a typical office setting. Pretty casual.
Okay, you start.
Hey, do you have a minute?
Yeah, sure, what's up?
Okay, simple as that. That feels very standard, right?
Totally, and that's the point. Hey, do you have a minute? Is presented as the default non-intrusive opener for colleagues when there's no obvious do not disturb sign.
And the phrase itself, a minute, is key, isn't it? It implies brevity. You're not asking for a huge chunk of their time, just a quick thing.
Exactly. It signals the request is small and manageable. It respects their workflow by suggesting it won't be a major derailment.
And the response, yeah, sure, what's up? That's the ideal outcome. Clear confirmation, smooth transition.
Right. It validates your polite approach and gives you the green light to just get straight to your point. No awkwardness.
This is so useful for all those little things that come up constantly in an office, isn't it? Like, where's that file? Or, did you see that email? Quick clarifications.
Definitely. By starting this way, you avoid yanking someone out of deep focus unexpectedly, which can be really jarring and, frankly, annoying. It respects their concentration while still letting you get what you need efficiently. Foundational stuff for good teamwork.
Okay, good baseline. Now let's shift context. The next scenario takes us somewhere a bit more formal, talking to a teacher after class. The dynamic's different here.
Yeah, more structure, usually a bit of a power difference, and the teacher's time is often limited or scheduled. Okay, your turn again.
Excuse me, is now a good time to talk?
Absolutely. What's on your mind?
All right, you can immediately feel the difference in tone there. Starting with, excuse me.
Yeah, that signals you know you're potentially interrupting and you're requesting attention more formally than just, hey.
And the phrase, is now a good time to talk, feels maybe a bit more open-ended than, do you have a minute? Like, it acknowledges they might need more than 60 seconds.
Right. It seems better suited for situations where you might need a slightly longer conversation or when the person you're approaching, like a teacher, might have blocks of scheduled time. It gives them a chance to assess if this specific moment works.
Exactly. And this more formal tone is highlighted as being really appropriate when you're talking to someone in authority or a mentor or anyone whose time is visibly managed. It shows deference.
It acknowledges their schedule might be tight. And the teacher's response here, absolutely, what's on your mind, that's also key.
How so?
Well, it's not just a yes. It's warm, it's inviting. It puts the student at ease and makes it clear, okay, I'm ready to listen, tell me what you need. It encourages them.
Ah, I see. So it reinforces that supportive aspect of the relationship, even while maintaining the respectful boundary. It really shows how the context and the relationship dictate the best phrasing, doesn't it?
Totally. You got to match the politeness level to the situation you're in. One size doesn't fit all.
Okay, let's switch gears completely. From formal academic to super casual, calling a friend.
Right. You'd think maybe you don't need to check, but let's see. You call me.
Hey, are you free to talk for a second?
Sure. I've got a few minutes.
Okay, the energy is totally different. Hey,
Huh.
for a second. Super informal.
Exactly. But the interesting point here is that even with a close friend, doing this quick availability check is still seen as polite and considerate.
Right. Because your friend could be doing anything, right? Driving, in another conversation, cooking dinner.
Yeah.
Just because they picked up doesn't mean it's a good time to launch into a long story.
Precisely. It shows you're mindful of their world, that they have stuff going on too. It avoids that feeling of just assuming their time is yours.
And the response here? Sure, I've got a few minutes. That's interesting too.
Yeah, it does two things, doesn't it? Confirms they can talk now? Sure. But also gently sets a potential boundary, a few minutes.
Like, yes, but maybe not for ages. It's a subtle time expectation.
Exactly. And being sensitive to that, or even maybe offering a time frame yourself when you call a friend like, hey, got 5 minutes to chat, is part of just smooth, respectful communication, even in personal life.
It keeps things pleasant, ensures you both are actually present for the chat. It's not just a rule for work.
Makes sense. Okay, back to the office for the next one. This uses a slightly different, more proactive opening for asking a coworker a quick question.
Okay, I'll approach you. Let me know if you're busy. I just have a quick question.
Not busy at all. Go ahead.
So what's different here? The opening phrase, let me know if you're busy, it feels like you're giving them permission to say no right up front.
Exactly. You're preemptively acknowledging they might be busy and making it easy for them to say so. It foregrounds their state.
And this seems particularly useful when someone looks busy, right? Like headphones on, deep concentration face.
Yeah, definitely. If they seem visually engaged in something, starting this way shows you've noticed and you're ready to back off if needed. It feels less demanding, less abrupt than even got a minute.
It manages expectations really well. You check their status and you signal your need is small. Just have a quick question. It sets the stage for a very brief interruption.
Right, and that makes the whole thing really efficient. The clear response, not busy at all, go ahead, means zero ambiguity. You can just ask your question and get the info. It's politeness actually speeding things up.
I like that. Politeness is efficiency. Okay, final role play scenario. This one brings us back to a professional hierarchy approaching your boss. Often tricky territory.
Yeah, respect for authority plus awareness of their likely packed schedule. Okay, your turn to ask.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yes, but I've only got 5 minutes, so let's make it quick.
Okay, can I ask you something real quick? Straight to the point, acknowledges the time factor immediately.
Yeah, it explicitly signals you understand their time is valuable and you won't take much of it. Very direct about the quick part.
And the boss's response is really telling here. Yes, but.
Exactly. They agree, yes, but immediately set a hard boundary. I've only got 5 minutes. This dynamic is highlighted as crucial in professional settings, especially with superiors.
So it's not just about asking politely, but also about respecting the limits they set.
Absolutely. Accepting that 5-minute window and sticking to it is just as important as the polite opening. It shows you can be concise, you respect their constraints, you value their time.
And if you ignore that limit,
you undermine the initial politeness. It shows you weren't really listening or respecting the boundary. Sticking to the time builds trust and shows you're reliable and can communicate effectively, even under pressure. Key for that relationship.
makes perfect sense. These dialogues really illustrate the nuance as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond these specific phrases and scenarios, there are also a few general tips for making these check-ins work even better.
Right, sort of overarching principles. What's the first one?
Tip number 1 is all about tone. Use a warm, friendly tone. This gets a lot of emphasis. The way you ask can matter even more than the words themselves.
Yeah, I can see that. A friendly, approachable tone makes the request feel less like an interruption and more like an invitation to connect, even briefly. It makes people more willing to pause what they're doing.
It sets a positive emotional tone right away before you even get to your question. Makes the whole interaction smoother.
Definitely. Okay, tip number 2.
This one's about reading the room or the person. If someone looks obviously intensely busy, it's totally okay. Often better to just say something like, no worries, I'll come back later.
So it's not just about asking if they're busy, but sometimes recognizing they clearly are and proactively deferring.
Exactly. It shows genuine observation and respect for their focus. You're not forcing them to break concentration just to tell you they're busy. It saves them mental energy.
And it keeps the door open easily for later, right? No awkwardness, no pressure, just simple consideration. That seems really smart.
Yeah, a small thing that shows a lot of respect. And the final tip, number 3, sounds basic, but it's critical. Always listen to their response. If they actually say they're busy, you have to respect that.
This feels like the payoff, right? The whole point of asking politely is lost if you ignore their answer.
Completely. If you ask, is now a good time? And they say, not really, I'm on a deadline. And then you just launch into your thing anyway.
You've just undone all the politeness. You've shown the question wasn't genuine. You have to be prepared to accept no or later for the whole system to work.
Exactly. Respecting their boundaries is what makes the initial check meaningful and builds trust for next time.
Makes total sense. So if we kind of wrap up the key takeaways from this whole exploration.
Yeah, we've seen how valuable these specific polite phrases are. Things like, do you have a minute? Or is now a good time?
Yeah.
As tools to start conversations respectfully.
And we walk through those different scenarios, office, teacher, friend, boss, seeing how the language kind of shifts depending on who you're talking to in the situation, and how the responses matter too.
Right. And then those practical tips. The importance of a warm tone, having the grace to just come back later if someone's clearly swamped, and crucially, actually listening to and respecting their answer about availability.
These aren't just abstract etiquette rules. They're presented as like practical social skills you can use every day to make interactions smoother and more considerate.
Yeah, they really help turn those potentially awkward moments into confident, respectful starting points for whatever you need to discuss.
Yeah.
It just greases the wheels of communication.
Definitely. So maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on as you go about your day.
Ooh, okay.
When you do use one of these phrases, pay attention to how the other person responds. Do they immediately say, sure, what's up? Do they hesitate? Do they give you a time limit, like the boss example?
What can that response tell you?
Well, maybe it offers a little clue about their communication style or what their priorities are in that moment, or just how swamped they genuinely feel right then. Their response is communication, too.
That's interesting. It's not just a yes-no. It's a signal in itself. You're reading their availability and maybe getting a little insight into their world.
Exactly. So think about that. And maybe try out some of these approaches this week. See how it feels. Notice the responses you get. It might make a subtle but real difference.
Great point. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope these insights help you navigate starting those conversations with a bit more confidence and ease. So don't forget to subscribe to Daily Easy English Talk so you don't miss our next show.
Yeah, please do. And share it with your friends if you found it helpful.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye-bye.